The ground shuddered beneath Xarvik's 6-taloned feet. Every vibration was like a hammer striking the deepest core of his exoskeletal frame. The sky above was a searing, ash-streaked canvas of fire and ruin, and the wind tasted of scorched earth and ozone. Somewhere to his left, a massive artillery shell screamed its descent, detonating in a blinding flash that ripped a crater in the dirt. Xarvik cowered instinctively, his sensory frills twitching in panic. "First time in a bombardment, bug boy?" chuckled Sergeant Flint. His voice was gravel-scraped but oddly calm amid the apocalypse around them. Flint's scarred face was coated in dust and sweat, but his eyes shone with an almost predatory excitement. Xarvik blinked his compound eyes and forced himself to rise. He had spent years embedded with humans, studying their war customs for the Galactic Consortium's observation initiative, yet nothing had prepared him for this. I was told humans were loud," Xarvik managed, his mandibles clicking nervously. "But this is—" A deafening boom cut him off as a row of howitzers behind their position fired in perfect unison. The recoil of their colossal barrels sent shockwaves rippling through the mud. Xarvik's frills flattened as his entire world became sound and fury. "Beautiful, ain't it?" Corporal Vance grinned as he hefted an autocannon onto a broken wall, the weapon's drum magazine spinning with a mechanical whir. "Like a symphony with more explosions." Xarvik stared at Vance in disbelief. These men weren't merely enduring the chaos, they were thriving in it. Thriving in a tempest that would shatter the nerves of most sentient beings. A burst of plasma fire from the enemy trenches cut through the air, glowing blue and angry. Xarvik ducked reflexively, but Flint stood his ground and barked orders. "Return fire! None of that half-measure nonsense!" Flint yelled, punctuating the command with a defiant burst from his rifle. Vance's autocannon roared to life. The barrel spun, vomiting streams of red-hot death across the battlefield. The enemy emplacement, a fortified bunker bristling with alien tech, buckled under the sheer weight of the onslaught. Armor plating peeled away like paper, and Xarvik watched in awe as it collapsed inward with a final, hollow explosion. "Target neutralized," Vance whooped. Flint gave a satisfied nod. "Good work. Now let's make them regret the rest of their choices." Xarvik's mandibles twitched. He could barely comprehend the cold efficiency of it. He glanced down the line of trenches, seeing dozens of human soldiers standing amid the destruction, firing relentlessly, shouting orders, never slowing down. The sky overhead filled with streaks of missile contrails. Somewhere beyond the smoke clouds, the consortium's scientific mind in Xarvik admired the audacity of the design. Human warheads didn't merely explode, they shaped destruction. Each payload was meticulously engineered to break apart defenses, scatter shrapnel, and ignite secondary infernos. A sudden whoosh and whine signaled the launch of railgun artillery far to the rear. The sheer kinetic force sent a supersonic scream overhead, a silver streak of death that slammed into the enemy's central fortress. The impact vaporized an entire section of the hillside and sent molten debris raining down. "Incoming wave!" someone shouted. Xarvik turned just in time to see the enemy, a coalition of towering reptilian brutes called the Turgathi, charging through the rubble. They moved with terrifying coordination, their sleek armored bodies shimmering in the dust-choked air. The humans didn't flinch. "Suppressive fire! Bring the pain!" Flint roared. A chorus of machine guns and laser turrets responded, laying down a punishing storm of firepower. The air crackled with the smell of burning ozone and cordite. The Turgathi's front ranks crumpled under the barrage, their advance slowing as the wave broke against a wall of unyielding force. Xarvik felt his frills tighten against his head. He had seen conflicts before, skirmishes with surgical precision, fleet battles orchestrated like delicate dances. But this was no artful duel. It was a brawl, a savage, unrelenting cacophony of steel, fire, and fury. "Flamers up," Flint barked. 3 soldiers stepped forward, lugging flamethrowers with grim determination. Pillars of searing fire erupted from their nozzles, turning the battlefield into a hellscape of burning trenches. Xarvik's senses reeled as the shrieks of the Tagathi echoed through the smoke. One of the flamethrower operators, a man named Novak, spat into the mud as he lowered his weapon. Nothing like a bonfire to brighten the day. "They're falling back," Vance shouted. "Push forward." Xarvik hesitated. The enemy was retreating. Shouldn't they regroup, reassess? But Flint had no intention of slowing. He vaulted over the trench wall and raised his fist. "All squads, advance!" The humans surged after their commander with a collective roar. Xarvik scrambled to follow, his claws sinking into the churned-up soil. The humans pressed forward like a tidal wave, their shouts rising above the chaos. The Turgathi rear line turned to regroup, but were too late. Explosions tore through their ranks as grenade launchers sent waves of fragmentation rounds into their midst. Xarvik watched in astonishment as the humans closed the distance with brutal efficiency. He could barely comprehend how they carried the weight of their weapons, the exhaustion of battle and the weight of countless losses, and yet still charged forward with fire in their eyes. In the heart of the chaos, Flint was a storm incarnate, firing point-blank into the Turgathi ranks. His war cry rose above the cacophony, and for a moment, Xarvik thought he saw the Turgathi falter, not from tactics, but from fear. Fear of a species that thrived on adversity. Vance shouldered into cover beside Xarvik, reloading his autocannon. He glanced over and grinned. "You get it yet, bug boy?" Xarvik's mandibles clacked in bewilderment. "Get what?" "Hey, they call us the apex predators," Vance said, slamming the magazine home. "When things get loud and ugly, we don't break." He swung out and opened fire, sending another torrent of death downrange. Xarvik watched as the Turgathi line shattered, their retreat turning into a rout. The battlefield echoed with the sound of human triumph, the relentless rhythm of gunfire, the rumble of tanks, the hiss of artillery shells splitting the air. As the last Turgathi fled over the hill, Flint climbed atop a broken turret and raised his rifle high. "Victory!" he bellowed. The soldiers cheered, their voices a deafening chorus of defiance and celebration. Xarvik stood in their midst, trembling but resolute. He finally understood. This wasn't merely war. It was the ultimate expression of humanity's refusal to surrender. Their fury, their tenacity, their indomitable will. It wasn't just noise. It was their voice. And by the stars, Xarvik thought, it was deafening.